See it played. Death Ride Halfaya Pass. German operations phase. Yeah. I still find myself cherry-picking targets too much, and in violation of the rules, I think. So here's a good example. This heavy weapons platoon up here on the escarpment level 2 escarpment. So I'm causing some suppression to the frontline units here, which is good for me. Slow them down. But I wanted to distribute the suppression as much as possible. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I thought that was a good approach. But so with this heavy weapons platoon, I wanted them to fire at this infantry company back here, and that way I could really get, again, distribute the suppression. But they can't do that because they have a legitimate target that's closer. No, wait a minute. No. Nope, sorry. I take that back. Line of sight goes here without entering another unit, which isn't that interesting because this unit is blocked by this level 1 escarpment. But the line of sight, okay, I take that back. Line of sight does go out here, and there's not another target that's closer, that is in line of sight, or I'm sorry, along this line of sight. Okay. Okay, British operations phase. Now's the time. I'm going to push up as hard as I can, try to get some mortar fire into play, get the field artillery into play, and see what we can do. I'm going to take a lot of fire, but see what we can do. You'll see my lead infantry company there took 2 more levels of suppression from indirect fire, so they're at 4, and actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So none of these suppressed units can't move any closer to about that line anyways. So we'll see what the Brits can do here, the British Army. So end of the British Army operations phase, already recovered suppression, fire on both sides. But actually bad rolling. I don't think I rolled above a 4 on both sides, so just not a lot of results. But one thing I noticed is that now that I'm paying attention to the line of sight rules, as with some other things in this game where you're doing a lot of calculations and a lot of calculations over and over again, now I see that so for example, well, what I'm seeing is you're now doing a lot of or you're adding to what I had already figured out before. Is now you're adding quite a bit of line of sight determination. So as this British Army company started here with the engineers and moved up 3 hexes, with each with each hex it took opportunity fire, of course from a different unit stack. It moved forward 1, took opportunity fire from the 88s there, moved up 1 more, took opportunity fire from this artillery. Yeah, and then when it moved here, took opportunity fire from this heavy weapons platoon. So, and it had to do not only do you have to only do 1 unit stack at a time for opportunity fire, but it basically, when it moved one forward, line of sight was only from this stack. When it moved forward one more, that stack of course had already fired at this one, so it couldn't fire again, but then it came into line of sight with that from that stack, and finally it moved over here and came into line of sight from this stack. Just interesting. The other thing, of course, is that the company did move forward and took opportunity fire in every hex it moved and did fine. The other thing I noticed is that on both sides of the escarpment, the Germans don't have the Germans don't have any tanks. No, the Germans have no tanks. So I'm noticing on both sides of the escarpment, I need to get my infantry up, and I need to move forward and make contact with the infantry first as much as possible. So that's why I'm pulling up the infantry over here, and I'm pushing the infantry past. I actually spread out my tanks so that they don't get hit in one hex if the Germans get another air mission. So I spread out the tanks. Spread out the tanks, and I'm leaving room for the infantry to come and pass through the armor. And then I got my indirect fire ready to go. But interestingly, on this side, I am keeping out of sight of the Germans, which means that my indirect fire can't be used. And this is probably where it's significant that so all of this over here is the Halfaya regiment. Yeah, the Halfaya group. Halfaya group. Where was he? There, I hope. The Halfaya group. And over here is the Indian Brigade. So I don't think that they can... let me see. Oh, who did? Oh, actually, 4th Royal Horse Artillery. Who can they fire for? So, isn't this interesting, I guess? Well, I'm going to use the command-control relationships diagram first, which is interesting because it's optional, although I don't see why that should be an optional rule, but I'm playing with it normally. I think I always have. That's funny, the Royal Horse Artillery is over here, shown as being, for C2 purposes, underneath the Indian Brigade. I say that's interesting because the scenario card makes the 4th Royal Horse Artillery look like it's on its own. Or it either looks like it's on its own, or at least it looks like it falls under the Halfaya group, but not the Indian Brigade. But I guess we don't... that's funny, they call it order of battle chart, but I guess we're not supposed to use that as... did I say scenario card? I hope I didn't say scenario card. No, I mean the order of battle chart. Oh, it's all the 4th Indian Division, but there is no 4th Indian Division headquarters. 4th Indian Division headquarters, I guess, would be above them. Huh. I never thought about that. Who can the 4th Royal Horse Artillery fire for? Now, the rule as I remember is artillery can fire for a unit, for a unit that can trace its command and control to a headquarters that the artillery can trace to. Yeah, artillery that is in command and control can fire missions for units that it traces command and control to. I'm not sure that's the best language, but here Royal Horse Artillery traces command and control to the 11th Indian Brigade, which means that it can fire in support of all units that trace to 11th Indian Brigade, meaning all of these. Yeah, all the combat units. That's interesting. And the 4th Royal Tank Regiment is divided too. I never noticed. Alpha, Alpha, Charlie. That's just interesting because part of the Royal Horse Artillery is on this side of the escarpment, but really it can only fire in support of these units over here. Okay. That's interesting. I wonder if there's anything that changes what I just figured out. I wonder if there's anything different on Consum World forums.